All right, everyone, welcome back into another live edition of the Patriots Beat podcast here on the CLNS Media Network, presented by our wonderful friends over at Prize Picks and Game Time. It's Brian Hines back as always with Alex Barth, and we are 2.5 weeks away from the NFL draft. We're in the middle of smokescreen season, silly season, especially after that Colorado Pro Day to end last week and end the Pro Day circuit. So we're almost there, but we're in the thick of it. Not much Patriots news. They started their voluntary offseason program today. Looked like they had pretty good attendance just from some social media clips. Drake May was there. Christian Barmore was there. Looked like he was working out. So good news on that front. But, with not much news, we are going to turn it over to you guys today. Q&A, anything draft related, we assume is going to dominate most of the questions, but anything you guys have Patriots related, throw that in the chat. We'll get to the most of it. But Barth, while people start to do that, I'll ask you this. We heard from defensive coaches on Friday and Jeremy Sprainer, special teams coordinator. Anything just kind of big picture stand out to you from, hearing for the defensive coaches really for the first time? And then, we got some kicker intel there from Sprainer on Friday.
That was my big takeaway from Friday was they are going to add another kicker. And you guys know how I hype up they like guys that have experienced kicking in cold weather. That might not be a thing anymore. So Andres Borregales maybe more in play. Tyler Loop maybe more in play. That was kind of my big takeaway. We are going to get, it sounds like, another kicker battle, which good. Like Romo is 4 games of experience, right?
Yeah.
In the NFL.
I think he was like 7 for 8 in 4 games. So
yeah, there should be competition.
Definitely. Defensive coaches, I mean, the big word was violence. I feel like everyone in those rooms talked about violence, and that was kind of what we expected, right? With Terrell Williams, that seems to be a big thing of his. And then you watch even the additions like Milton Williams, we're talking about more 4-down fronts, penetrating defensive tackles, flying around the field, team speed. Like violence really feels like the calling card for this defense. Even some guys who we were questioning maybe their future, like a Marcus Jones, Justin Hamilton, the cornerbacks coach, says he watches his film and he's like, oh, wow, he's a lot more physical, more violent than you would have expected. Feels like the safety coach really likes Jabril Peppers too. We were wondering what could happen in that room. So some clarity on some of those guys. But yeah, talking to Sprainer, like the kicker, we expected it again, but just to confirm, they are going to bring the kicker in here at some point. He said they've done work on every draft eligible kicker prospect. So definitely going to get one of those in the fold, probably draft weekend, day 3 UDFA at some point there.
Yeah, it could be UDFA. I don't think there's no like Jake Moody in this class, right? Where you're going to have to fly up the board and get a guy. It could end up being a UDFA, but there is going to be a rookie kicker in here. And that's the other thing about like Marcus Jones. And we wondered about his future. It feels like, especially in the wake of the Joe Milton trade and some of the guys they cut, the guys they don't plan on being here aren't here at this point. I think the guys that they knew they were going to move on from, they moved on from. That cuts both ways. It's good to see Marcus Jones still here. You wonder about Jelani Tavai and his future. Maybe he's moving back to the edge because he's not a linebacker in this system on top of everything else. But it feels like they made a point of not having the guys they didn't have a plan for in the building once the program began.
Definitely get them out before the voluntary program starts when everyone's back in the building. So that was kind of the just quick news there from Friday. So, and kicker Ben Sauls, right? He specifically mentioned maybe Arizona, maybe a little nugget there. So your guy Ben Sauls could be on the radar there, but that was that. So now we will jump into the comments here. Again, anything you guys want to ask? No, probably mostly centered around the draft, but throw it in the chat. We'll get to as many as possible. There was one off the jump earlier, right when we started. Can you see a scenario where the Patriots take Will Campbell and then Ariante Ursary with the idea Campbell plays left and Ursary plays right tackle, swing year 1, and then takes over for Morgan Moses? Kind of did this in our last mock with Taylor, right? We took Will Campbell and then Donovan Jackson, who was a guard. So Jackson would play instead of Ursary, who you're taking at 38, would probably be on the bench year 1. So I don't know if that makes you feel a little bit different about things, but how would you feel if they went Campbell and then Ursary there 1-2?
I mean, they're investing in the line, which is good. I wouldn't feel great if they're using their 4th overall pick on a guy they're not confident in him playing that position. Like, I've been somebody who wants them to draft Campbell, but I want them to draft Campbell, assuming they're drafting him as a left tackle and, not necessarily hedging your bets on that. And, well, we'll see kind of approach. So, look, it's addressing the offensive line, which is important. I wouldn't hate it, but I'd have to see the rest of the draft. It would feel a little redundant. I also don't think Ursary is going to be there at 38. I had them moving up and taking him at 35 in my mock I put out this morning on 98.5thesportshub.com. And even that, I felt a little about, honestly. I still think there's going to be a run, especially now the Dolphins, you can always pencil in for taking a running back or a receiver because they skill position guys, but they have to take a tackle now. They have to. You just look at the way it's going to break down in the first round. There's going to be a run. And Campbell, Membu, Banks, Simmons, Connerly, like Ursary 6. Could you see 6 tackles going in the first, call it 35 picks, 37 picks? Absolutely. So I think they may have to move if they want to get him.
Especially with the Chiefs down there. I mean, I know they signed Jalen Moore, right? But like, could they be a factor, offensive tackle?
Absolutely. And they're a candidate to move up.
Yeah. Josh Simmons, he bet with the Packers today, and I believe the Ravens tomorrow. So that's pick 23, 27. Those two teams could be, you talk about like good teams who could maybe sit Josh Simmons for a year. Like those teams could be on his radar.
I would look at the Niners as high as 11 being able to do that.
Yeah, with Trent Williams still there, probably on his like last kind of run there. So there's going to be a run, and you can't miss that run unless you take Will Campbell 4 and you feel confident about that. So you want to be ahead of the run, unlike you were last year. So, but what about a little later, maybe in the draft? Do you have any favorite developmental right tackles? We talked a lot about Ozzie Trapilo. Probably in the 3rd round, maybe even squeaks into the 2nd round there. A lot of BC connections, but anyone else there in the kind of developmental path later on?
Yeah, I mean, developmental, I think day 3. So Trapilo fits, but Trapilo is a good player. I don't know that I'd call him developmental. Holland Pierce is probably my favorite developmental right tackle. I know he played left in college, but I think he's going to play on the right side in the NFL. Yeah, he has what you can't coach, right? So,
yep, big body.
Yeah,
Jalen Travis like that too. I know he was a left, but maybe he flips over to the right with that bigger body. I was going through the list. Like Belton, would you count Belton as developmental?
Belton is very developmental, yeah, but I still think he might be able to play on the left side.
That's true.
Brandon Crenshaw Dixon would be another one.
Chase Lunt another guy from UConn, if you just want like a really good athlete at the position, you do think he's going to kick in?
He might be able to make it work at right tackle. He's just a right tackle. He's never going to play left.
Yeah, he's right, but like he's a really good athlete, so he might be able to make that work. But
yeah,
all right. Speaking of kind of those developmental later round guys, who are some of your sleepers in this draft?
I can't answer this with Kyle Williams anymore, right?
Did we ever roll on that? Like, I've seen people like in the PFF simulator. I think he's like 3rd round now ranked. So he is out of sleeper range.
That was such a good answer for this question, and then y'all caught up. I guess I should be happy he's getting his recognition. Let me think. Going through positions here off the top of my head. Running back for me, it's Kyle Monangai from Rutgers. He runs. I don't know. So Mike Reese wrote Sunday that the Patriots might be looking for pass catching back. When Mike Reese says something like that, you kind of pay attention. Monangai is not that, so I don't know if he's what the Patriots are looking for, but I think he's a really good player. I think he's underrated. Easy to be an underrated running back in this class. It was so crowded. You want to just go position by position here if you have one, and then we can eat some time with this?
Yeah, we can go position by position.
So all right, we got a running back sleeper.
Where are we like cutting the line for sleeper, would you say? Like day 3 guy?
Yeah, don't say like Cam Scatabo.
Could I do ETN. I've been a big kind of
I'll
ETN
give you
guy.
ETN. I'll give you ETN
Okay.
as a sleeper.
So I
It's
like
relative
ETN.
to position.
Yeah.
A guy that is going to go some. All right, let's do this. We'll call it the Nikola Jokic rule, right? A guy whose pick could very well be announced during a Taco Bell commercial.
During a Taco Bell commercial.
Not somebody when the broadcast is like still going pick to pick.
All right. I think ETN cuts it. So
yeah.
Receiver, anyone?
Isaac Tesla. You know I've been on him.
You have
Vertical slot, good size, can play on special teams. Not going to solve all their answers at wide receiver, but I think he can be a nice piece.
I'll stick slot. Maybe more of their old mold, Efton Chisholm. Get another Eastern Washington guy in here. More of that stop start. Not really vertical, but he had a really impressive Shrine Bowl. So I like Efton Chisholm.
Tight ends. I guess I'll say Robbie Oots as like a fullback, but if we're going true tight end, I'm going to say Bryson Nesbitt. He's still projected like way down. He's not an unbelievable player or anything, but I think he's projected to go like undrafted right now. Like he's better than that. I think people are sleeping on Bryson Nesbitt a little bit.
Mock draft database has him 314 right now. So yeah,
that's too low.
Undrafted by like 50 picks, which is pretty crazy. I mean, I'm with you on him. I've been a big Bryson Nesbitt fan, just making that connection. I also Ben Urasek interests me from Georgia. Like he wasn't very productive for Georgia last year, but like he wasn't a big focal part of their offense, but he's got like some sneaky athleticism. There's some potential there as a blocker. Like him on day 3, I'd be pretty interested in him as if you're going to wait at that tight end position. So I like Urasek too, in addition to Nesbitt, but tackles, we kind of talked about those guys.
Yeah, we just sort of did that. Interior offense. Oh, Carson Vincent. I'll give you Carson Vincent. For we'll do offensive line. I'll say Carson Vincent.
Carson Vincent. I feel like this is kind of like you with Kyle Williams. Like all of the interior Georgia guys I've liked a lot throughout this process, but they've started to kind of get their recognition. So I guess Fairchild is like the one who's still the lowest. So Dylan Fairchild, I guess, for now.
Okay. Defensive line. I got a couple on the defensive line. I still think people are too low on Cam Jackson from Florida. I think people are. Where's Collins is projected to go top 100 now, right? He wasn't at one point. I'll go Cam Jackson.
Yeah,
and I'll go Collins, the local guy. I'll go Thor Griffin.
Collins is 62 right now.
Oh, okay. So he's not a sleeper.
No. Another local guy, Cam Horsley, BC, interior defensive lineman. I like him. I like his game. Edge.
Well, edge and linebacker, whatever order you want to go.
So
edge, I would say.
When this started, I thought Braden Swinson from LSU was kind of under the radar, but now he's up in that top 75 range. I don't know who.
I'll say Kymon Rucker. I know he's a little undersized, but there's going to be a lot in this edge class. Like there's a lot of guys I think you could go with because it is so deep. There are so many, and same with defensive tackle. There's so many guys that you just watch him as a player and you think he should be going higher, but there's just so many players above him.
Yeah. I mean, we discovered Johnny Walker last stream. He had some developmental. Oh, David Walker's still ranked 136, Central Arkansas.
David Walker's a good one.
It's the competition was what it was, but like when you watch that, you want to clearly identify who the NFL player is, and you can do that with David Walker. Kind of like has a Brandon Grammy feel to him. So I like David Walker there as an underrated edge guy still.
I'll give you a good one for linebacker. I don't think we've talked about this guy yet, which is weird because it's the kind of guy I usually talk a lot about. Sean Dolak from Buffalo. I don't know if you've done any work on him. Just
a little bit, not much.
Absurd production during his time in Buffalo. Was a consensus All-American at Buffalo, which tells you a lot. Good athlete, very rangy, just always around the football, experienced, has good instincts. I mean, he played at Buffalo, so you're projecting a jump, but I think he can be like a really good special teams player and then potentially factor in as a rotational linebacker. I think he's projected to go undrafted right now. Some people maybe have him just because, like, oh, he's an All-American. He was at Buffalo. It's kind of this goofy thing. I'll put in the end of the draft. But, I mean, if Bill was still here, Sean Dolak's going to be a 4th-round pick.
I feel like Bill would like Jay Higgins, too, from Iowa.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't think this new regime would like him. That's doesn't test well at the combine, not really athletic, more of maybe that old school thumper, but Bill, that regime would have liked Jay Higgins. Do you think Vrabel would like Cody Simon? That's another later round guy.
Yeah.
I
He's
could
slept on for sure.
I could see Cody Simon being on their radar late if they're still, they've done a lot at that linebacker position, obviously, but if they want to do something else there. But corner.
Oh, man, I got so many at corner. Mac McWilliams, Bilal Cohn, Jabbar Muhammad, I said Mac McWilliams. I guess those are the 3. I said I have so many. Those would be, just off the top of my head right away, those 3 are not getting enough attention.
I like Jabbar Muhammad. I'm with you on that one. Williams too. I mean, he had an awesome Senior Bowl. I've liked him since the Senior Bowls, but Jabbar, yeah, I'd probably go Jabbar for that one. I'm with you there. And then safety. I got to go Hunter Waller.
That I have a Badger safety. I knew you were going to say that.
Just a good football player right there, Hunter Waller.
I'll go.
Kevin Winston also interesting from Penn State. He's up in top 100 now. I don't know if that's probably not sleeper range, but he interests me. Who'd you say?
I feel like it's all haven't been any safeties that surprised me where they're projected. I guess I'll go Dante Trader. I think he could be a little higher, but I don't really have anybody there.
Yeah. And then I don't know, any sleeper kicker or special teamer?
Ben Sauls, I guess. Ben Sauls. Like, I think he's the best kicker. Borgalis is good. It's close. I would take Sauls, but
your guy Jonah Dalmas is 608 on the database.
Yeah, he really blew it in that playoff game. That was not a good showing for him.
No.
We've seen we talked just a little tangent here. Like going into the playoffs, talking about how this is a unique thing for the draft and these games can really be impactful for these kids and on and on and on. I guess we'll see what happens, like if it actually plays through in the actual draft. But just from what we're hearing at this point, people are like, oh, you're overselling it. It's just a couple games. How much does it really matter? Look at Matthew Golden. Like Matthew Golden was a day 3 pick before the playoff, and it just got everybody's eyes on him. He's the same player he was, but just gets more eyes on him. So again, we'll see if it actually pans out this way when we get to the draft, but you're hearing teams talk like that. The playoffs really made and made it and broke it for some of these guys. So it's good to know moving forward that that's going to be a significant impact on the
even
draft.
a guy like Abdul Carter, right? Like, I mean, he was consensus top 10, but it feels like he played 2 playoff games and he kind of got hurt in one, but like he was so good. Like it feels like he really cemented himself. And maybe he was always going to get there, but he just kind of sped up that process in those playoff games of being like, okay, I'm a top 3, top 5 pick. Like he really put himself on that radar, felt like, in those playoff games. So, those playoff games, they do what they're supposed to do. But so those are our sleepers. And before we talk about some other stuff, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Prize Picks. We know the football season is over, but the sports roll on, and it does so on Prize Picks, where you just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. March Madness ends tonight. You can get in on the action there. Basketball playoffs right around the corner. Celtics have a couple games left. Hockey playoffs right around the corner. Bruins have a couple regular season games left. No playoffs. Baseball is in full swing. The Red Sox bats are hot. You can put those guys in your lineup. It's all available to you over on Prize Picks. So download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. Again, all over on Prize Picks. Run your game. Just put the whole Red Sox lineup in your Prize Picks lineup,
seriously.
and hits, home runs, doubles, any of it, you'll go more on those the way the Red Sox are swinging the bats there. So, but we will.
I'll double back to this. I just wanted to appreciate the tip. We answered that first question.
Campbell Ursery, yep.
Yeah.
Will Travion Henderson last for pick 38? I think he'll be there.
I think he'll be there. I don't know that. I don't think they're going to take a running back that high.
I think those third round picks are where you start to look at the running backs.
Yeah. I still think Dylan Sampson makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I also wouldn't be surprised if they double up. You know, you have an early down back in Stevenson, a passing down back in Gibson, and now you're going to draft one of each as well and just kind of have those compliments. I wouldn't be surprised if they double up, but I still think they're looking for that passing down, that true passing down back.
Yep. I don't know about sorry. Go back to yours because it was pick 38 again.
Is Trey Harris a reach at 38?
I don't think he's a reach.
It depends how it goes, right? And we'll get to the question that was just up there in a second. If Luther Burden falls, like some people think he might, like I'd be pretty upset if they take Trey Harris over Luther Burden. If it goes the way we think it's going to go, and like even A.O. Manner's off the board, then no, there's a run on receivers. You have to adjust.
Yeah, he might not be my favorite receiver at 38, but if that top two tiers go, like I don't think he would be a reach at that spot right there.
Who's your favorite receiver 38?
Who's gone?
Let's say like Burden, Igbuka, Golden are all gone.
Burden, Ibuka, Golden. I think I like Higgins a little bit more than Trey Harris.
Okay.
But yeah. I don't think he'd be a reach though.
Fair enough. No, not unless like other wide receivers fall.
Yeah. And speaking of one of those guys with Burden, I don't know about insight, but any insight on his 2024 season? He had the big statistical 2023, kind of took a step back in 2024. This guy who asked says, was it Brady Cook issues? Was it Mizzou issues?
Yes.
What was your just kind of read? What was your just kind of read on Burden's year last year? And does that kind of deter you? I still like him a lot as a player, but did that last year kind of deter you at all from his draft stock?
It deterred me from like in the summer. I was ready to have him ahead of Tet and have him be wide receiver 1. It kind of turned me off of that a little bit, but it was a mess. It was a mess for Brady Cook. It was a mess up front around Armand Membu. And they were trying to overcompensate for things all year, and they were changing their offense on the fly. And he clearly got frustrated, and I think that further impacted things. It is just a bad situation all around. But Jordan Addison had something similar. Now he transferred; it wasn't at the same school. He was excellent at Pitt. Was Blitnikoff finalist, Blitnikoff winner, right at Pitt.
I think he won it. Yeah.
I think next year goes to USC and was just pedestrian. And it wasn't a fit, and he fell in the draft because of it. And it ended up working out okay for him. Right. So that's been stylistically different, but that's been my comp for Burden has been Jordan Addison. Like you're going to have teams that, what do you weigh more? Do you weigh more what the guy has done recently, or do you look at them equally and look at 2024 and pick out where the issues were? And can you look at them and say, yeah, he wasn't part of the problem. We believe 2023 is really the player he is.
Yeah. I'm willing to bet on that. He was so good in 2023.
Yeah.
And I think Brady Cook, took a step back. That was a big
future Patriot Brady Cook.
Yeah. That gets people mad. We've learned Brady Cook. Don't talk about
people
Brady
were
Cook.
not happy about that.
Even with pick 238 in the 7th round, it gets people mad. But, that kind of group of receivers, do you have, if Will Campbell is the pick at 4, Matt asked, and you do move back into the late first round, Ibuka, Burden, Golden, he throws in Colston Loveland. I agree, Matt. I like him a lot as a target. Do you have kind of a favorite out of that group right there?
It's definitely Golden. I think Golden is maybe a step above that group. Like he might end up going higher. So if he's not there, I'd probably go Burden. Loveland's a good player. How much is he going to play year one? How with Hunter Henry still on the roster, you're not taking Hunter Henry off the field. How much are you going to get out of Colson Loveland right away? And I know it's about the long term. I get that, but they do need to put some focus on 2025 and really getting this thing turned around offensively.
Yeah. I'm probably with you. Golden is probably the top. After that, like even all these guys, they're really all close to me.
Yeah.
Like,
I would take Burden above the other two. I just don't think he's not the kind of player they're going to bring in.
Yeah. Ibuka feels more like their type of guy.
Yeah.
Just from, personality, play style, but there is some of that kind of Jalen Polk rollover. So, how much do they still believe in Jalen Polk? And does that stop them from making a move like that? That's another thing to kind of factor in to that equation. But
you want Jack Jones back?
No. Do people really want him, as this comment says?
I don't know if I'm sure it's going to come up at some point. Yeah, I'm good.
They don't need Jack Jones. I'm perfectly fine with everything Alex Austin brings to the table and doesn't bring to the table off the field, that they can move forward with Alex Austin and kind of that cornerback 3, or even Isaiah Bolden if they like him, that depth on the outside over Jack Jones. So I'm good with that.
Well, we'll always have the Aaron Rodgers pick 6. You want Tyreek Hill?
No, I'm kind of good on that too.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'd be more interested in that than Jack Jones, but
yes,
I'm fine with no Tyreek Hill at this point.
Wrong side of 30, wrist injuries, has not played well in the cold the last 2 years. I'm all set.
What do you think about Savion Williams? And Jack says as a pass catching back with McDaniels, kind of that Cordell Patterson type of role there.
Well, they didn't use Cordell Patterson as a pass catching back. They used him in multiple roles. Yeah. So last year I said Joe Milton was the most exciting, most interesting player in the draft. And that doesn't mean best. It just means interesting. This year, I think that title goes to Savion Williams. I am fascinated by him. To all the different ways you can use him. What's the plan? What's the best plan? I am perfectly happy letting some other team try to figure that out. I don't think the Patriots need to take that risk with where he's going to go, with their history, with Josh McDaniels and scheme touch players. I'm good. I love the player. Love him. I will be perfect. If he goes somewhere and is nasty and Patriots didn't take him, I can live with that. He's not the kind of guy that has come here and succeeded. It would make me nervous. The upside's there, but I'd be very nervous.
There is a lot of upside, but I'm kind of in the camp with you of like, let someone else figure that out, and if it bites
people in the chat are pointing out, I'd love watching him in San Francisco. I'd have a ton of fun with that.
Yeah, that would be fun. Kind of
until Kyle Shanahan starts throwing him go balls in the fourth quarter of a playoff game up 2 scores.
Oh man. All right, what else do we got over here in the chat? Back to that point where people are just debating names and throwing names out.
I got some interest. Wait, there's some interest. Garrett Green as a third quarterback and receiver. So I've seen people point this out with Green and then Tommy Mellott, right? The kid from Montana State, who is the option quarterback there. If you're going to do that, if you're going to take one of these small quarterbacks and turn him into a receiver, he has to be a receiver. He can't be the third string quarterback and then move. No, like he has to learn the new position. That's going to take time. It's going to take attention. Like he can't be doing that and be playing quarterback. I'm not necessarily entirely against it. I don't think, Julian Edelman's 1 in a million. I don't think you're going to sign Garrett Green and ultimately get Julian Edelman. But if you're going to do that, like you're signing him as a wide receiver, he's playing wide receiver. He's not an NFL quarterback by any sense. And I like Garrett Green. I loved watching him in college. He's not an NFL quarterback. If you want to try to turn him into a wide receiver, do it, and then go get your third quarterback elsewhere.
You don't want another Malik Cunningham?
Right, exactly, yeah. We don't need to do that again.
Come on, Malik Mania. What a time that was, huh?
Yeah, that's why
Oh,
Joe
man.
Milton got traded. Zappy Fever and Malik Mania.
True. This is, if they say, could they trade KB for a day 3 pick if they draft a wide receiver in the first 3 rounds? Or, and that because they have 7 wide receivers that you could project could make the roster right now. They draft one, it'd be 8. Maybe Stephon Diggs is ready week 1. Maybe he buys you some roster time. But if they draft one early, are you expecting a trade? And, I think KB would make sense there. But who would be your kind of guy in that room that you'd be looking to move?
No, I think not immediately. Maybe when you get to camp, but I think they're going to camp with everybody and let them all compete.
See if another team gets injured.
Right.
See where Stephon Diggs is, give him some time. But
Exactly.
This one's kind of different because we haven't really talked a lot about Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward.
Yeah.
Where do they rank as quarterback prospects compared to the last few first-round quarterbacks taken? Bryce Young, Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and then the last year crew, Williams, Daniels, May, Penix, McCarthy, and Nix.
So I would go Williams, Daniels, May, Young, Penix, Stroud, Ward, Sanders, Nix, McCarthy. And that's what we know at the time. Obviously, like Shedeur is way down there, but and I missed Richardson. I put Richardson behind Ward and Sanders ahead of Nix and McCarthy.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of weird. We know what these guys from last year's draft because they were in the conversation. Remember, we were talking about Shedeur as an option. And
definitely Shedeur. Yeah.
He was QB4 in that draft at one point. So I still think and look, it obviously worked out with Bo Nix. I still think he's a better prospect than like for where Nix and McCarthy were at this time last year. But Ward I had in the second round last year, but he grew a lot this year. He improved a lot. Going back to school was the right decision for him.
Definitely. Yeah, I'd probably put Ward in that tier. Like if you're just looking at last year, like
yeah,
you have the big 3, Williams, Daniels, May, and then Ward is probably in that tier with, Penix. I'd have him over McCarthy, like that second tier.
So if I was going to tier it, it would be as prospects. So not knowing what we know now at the time. Williams at the top, Daniels, May, Young, Stroud. That would be a tier. Then Penix, Ward, Sanders is another tier. And then Richard, McCarthy, Nix is another tier. And then I'd have Jackson Dart below that. But apparently he might go top 10. So we'll throw him in there.
Jackson Dart, top 10 hype. Man. Yeah, but I'm with you on those tiers.
How about this? So I haven't heard anything on this. New uniforms. I haven't heard anything one way or the other, but, and this is just me speculating, usually when teams change uniforms, it's done before the draft because they want to be able to sell the draft picks. They want to be able to sell those new jerseys, the new gear, whatever comes with it. Like they don't want the draft pick up there holding a jersey that he's not going to wear, right? So usually this happened. The COVID year was different, or 2020 was different. That was the COVID year. So obviously it was different. I think time's running out on this. The way it's going at this point now, when you make like an official uniform change with the league, it's the jersey and the helmet, really. Like the pants aren't involved. So the silver pants becoming an official thing and maybe the all blue being an alternate, like that, I think is certainly in play. If they add another alternate, whether that be some sort of other blue jersey or like maybe we get the 90s Flying Elvis, like that could come later. I think they announced the red throwbacks were coming back in like May or June. So that is maybe still on the table, but like a full overhaul. They are eligible this year for the first time. I feel like we would have started hearing whispers at this point because usually you want to do that before the draft, and they're kind of running out of time on that.
The only thing we've got is like the league rule that you can wear the Patriot throwbacks more, right? Like it's up to 4
Yeah.
times now per year. So
So
that's
here's my take on
better.
that. They should mix in a white version of that jersey.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
with the red numbers, white with the red numbers, I believe is how they had it, right? And
I think so.
either do throwback games on the road, which I'd be all for, or they wore white at home for a couple years there. So you could do the red ones for 2 and then the white one for 1, or maybe do 2 of the white ones at home
They probably don't want to do it on the road, right? Like they probably like
for marketing.
yeah, but you could wear white. You could wear white at home for one game if it's a throwback, but
Because I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure they did used to do that. Hang on. There's a website that has a whole list of every single time a team has worn white at home.
well, they
I
wore
gotta
didn't they
I gotta
wear like
scroll past the Cowboys. It's gonna take a minute.
the year the year they had like those silver? Didn't they go like silver on silver or silver on blue
So
at
yeah,
home?
I honestly wouldn't hate that's make it a little darker, but take that silver jersey idea and bring that back on the current uniform. So not the dynasty era template, but on this template, a silver jersey would actually look kind of cool. If they were to bring that back as an alternate, I wouldn't be against that. All right, you ready to nerd out here, Brian?
Let's
White
do
at
it.
home, Patriots, 1980, Browns, Falcons, Dolphins, Rams, 1981, Colts, 1985, and they did it in every game in 85 and 86. So there you go. 87, they did it 3 times. 88, they did it 3 times. 1990, twice. 94 once as a throwback. It calls them dishwasher gray jerseys from 03 to 07. So the last time they truly did it, not as a throwback, was 1990 against the Dolphins and Jets. So I'd be all for a gray version of the current, or a silver version of the current jersey, or the white throwback that matches the Pat Patriot. But I don't think
I
we're
would,
getting fully new jerseys this year.
yeah, I'd like the white throwback. I want the royal blues back too. I just love that
I
color.
mean,
It doesn't
putting
it
Parcells in, this would be the year to do it.
yeah, it doesn't need to be the whole like a exact copy paste of the jersey, but I just love
Yeah.
that color. Like I hope they bring something back. There's a bunch of like the mock-ups you see on Twitter and online. Like people do a really good job with those. Like there's a few I really like with that royal blue kind of colorway. So I hope that manages to come back.
Whoever does those, because you guys do a good job. I'm curious if somebody can give me the like alternate gray version with the blue pants. Give me the silver version of the current jersey. I'm curious what that would look like. I think it would look kind of cool. It needs to be a little darker silver than it used to be, because they called them the dishwasher gray. It just looked like the white jerseys got dirty. It needs to be a little more silver, but like I think that might play. And this is a good point. New jersey for the new facilities, maybe in 2026. I don't hate that.
Maybe.
I think it's going to happen. I don't think these are going to stick around for 20 years like the last ones did. I think there's going to be a
No.
change sooner rather than later. I just think it might not be this year.
So what color, if you do the silver now, would you keep the stripe pattern the same? What's
Well,
it
it's
red?
different. It's different home and road, right?
Yeah.
Because they did it in the
Home
past,
is
like
just
the road jersey.
red, white, red because it's an all blue jersey.
Yeah, no, I would do it. I would do it like the road jersey. I would do the red, blue, red with the blue pants. Yeah.
That could work.
But then just make that silver. I think it would look kind of cool.
Yeah.
Mix
Keep
that
the
in. You
blue.
wear the throwback reds twice. You wear that twice.
Hopefully they do add something. So just something new to spice things up a little bit. That would be
The
nice. But
one thing I'm against that I see people do, I don't want Pat Patriot on a silver helmet, and I don't want the Flying Elvis on a white helmet. It just feels dirty to me. It feels wrong. Keep those two
yeah.
things. Those are two separate things. Don't combine those things. If they want to put the red
I don't
face
like
mask back on the white helmet, I'm not opposed, but that's it.
I don't like the white helmet with the flying Elvis.
No, it just looks gross. It looks like a high school team.
Definitely.
Anyway,
But
that was some fun
maybe
uniform talk.
good uniform talk there. Hopefully we'll have more to talk about when they release the jersey. But when they wear those jerseys, if you want to be in attendance for whatever jersey they wear, make sure you guys use Game Time to get your tickets, and for any other sporting event you want to go see live. And Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier, because they filter out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The Celtics, Bruins will be home to wrap up their regular season. The Red Sox are at Fenway Park all week, tonight through Thursday. They're playing the Toronto Blue Jays. Barth, each night, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you can get into Fenway Park on the Game Time app for under $10 for a ticket. I believe Wednesday is the nicest weather-wise. I think we're finally going to see the sun. It's been rainy. $8 is the cheapest get in on the Game Time app to get into Fenway Park. Or you can fire up a super deal and go sit on the Green Monster, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Wednesday night for only $47 on the Green Monster. Great place to watch a game. So make sure you head to Game Time for their lowest price guaranteed and other in-app features such as seat views, all-in pricing, and again, Game Time Picks, which makes it even easier to save more on your sports tickets and any other tickets you're looking for, such as concerts, comedy, theater, anything at all. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Game time, game time, game time. All right, we'll wrap up with a few more questions here. Let's see what else we got in the chat. What do we have left in the chat? We got a Jackson Dart debate going.
What is that? Is Mike in the chat?
He should be. A lot of World Campbell, Armand Membu debate going as usual.
Yeah, this late in the show, it's all just arguments. Nobody's listening to us anymore. I did see, I can't find it, but somebody asked about Willie Lampkin playing fullback. I'm not totally out. Here it is. Lampkin at fullback, and then also Nick Nash and Olave being traded. I don't hate the idea of Lampkin at fullback. He's going to give you what you need as a blocker, and he is athletic. You're going to have to work on, if you want to give him the ball, you're going to have to see where he's at there. But I don't hate it. I'd rather Robbie Oots. I think he has a similar build. He's going to give you a little more potentially as a ball carrier, which I like more in that sort of Patrick Ricard role than just like straight up James Devlin. But I'm not against it.
We got Tonga, though. Tonga can do it.
Well, he's like, that's your goal line.
Yeah.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah. Instead of that's your true blocking fullback, and then you're using Oots as more like an H-back.
I do like Lampkin, though. He's just he's so small, but I just feel like he's somehow going to make it work somehow. Like he's just got that motor to him and compete. But I do like him. But any Nick Nash or Chris Olave thoughts?
Olave, I'm good if I'm the Patriots. He has that history with concussions. That's why he's getting traded. If he gets traded, the Saints are worried about him in the long term. Not worth the risk. Nick Nash, he's fine. Like, he had great production in college. If they grab him later on day 3, like, he's an interesting project. Can be their Jacoby Myers, but there's a couple guys in the draft like that. I that's not a guy like I need them to get.
Yeah.
Like, if they're really going to give Jalen Polk another chance, he's going to be buried behind Jalen Polk to start at least. So,
agreed. Speaking of quarterbacks in the first, I think Milroe will go. Accepted his invite to the draft in person. So
I could see Tomlin liking him. I could see, why am I blanking on his name? Saints coach.
Kellen Moore.
I could see Kellen Moore liking him. That's a situation where I wonder if a team trades up into the back end of the first, like the Ravens did for Lamar. I said this. I was on a show in Pittsburgh, and I think I kind of caught him off guard last week because they were asking me about the quarterbacks in Jackson Dart, and I said I don't know who the third quarterback in this draft is, but I don't think it's Dart. Do you want floor or ceiling? If you're going off of floor, the third best quarterback in this draft to me is Will Howard. If you're going off of ceiling, the third best quarterback to me is Jalen Milroe. Jackson Dart's like somewhere in the middle. It's all very meh, and it's just like I think at that point you kind of want one of the extremes, right? Are you really trying to split it? Are you really trying to split it at that point? So if there's a team that loves Milroe's upside, then they can move back into the end of the first. Maybe the Eagles want to move down, accumulate some picks. They lost a lot of players. They need draft capital at 32, something like that. Maybe the Bills want to move down as they kind of start to feel the push of Josh Allen's contract on the salary cap. Maybe they want to add picks. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Milroe went in that situation. I don't think he's going this. Like, I don't think the Saints will take him 9th. Maybe the Steelers 21st. That's probably about as high as he's going.
I think Cleveland, like they're at 33. It sounds like they're going to go Travis Hunter now at 2, right?
Yeah,
like,
but Stefanski can't make it work with a running quarterback.
That's fair.
Like, ownership's an idiot.
Unless he does.
Look, it's the Browns, so anything can happen. But wasn't the whole thing from Stefanski why it didn't work out with Watson? Because like Watson wasn't right for his offense. He put all the blame on Watson, and it didn't work out because he couldn't do. So now you're going to add Jalen Milroe. Like, then fire Stefanski. Then fire Stefanski and get Jalen Milroe the right coach. I would have no problem if they want to put their faith in Jalen Milroe over Kevin Stefanski. I don't think it's a bad decision, but then do it.
Did he cross paths with Tommy Rees in Alabama?
Yeah, I think he did.
As an OC?
I think he did. That's actually a good point.
Because
Rees was the OC. No, in 23. Yeah. Yeah, that was Milroe's big year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
all right, good point.
Maybe Tommy Rees could convince him. That was just my kind of thought, but it's a good point with Watson. Like, it didn't work with Watson because kind of that skill set, but maybe with Tommy Rees in the fold now, they'll have a different take on that kind of skill set.
Speaking of Watson, Desmond Watson in the 7th. Yes or no? By the way, Brugler tweeted, and the beast is out Wednesday. There is a FCS wide receiver that is 144 pounds. So that's we were talking about this last week when we got off the air. That's who that guy is, who is an entire Mason Graham less. There's a Mason Graham's worth of weight between the heaviest player in this draft, Desmond Watson, and whoever this FCS wide receiver is the lightest player in the draft. And I hope they end up on the same team and take a picture together. Like, wasn't Muggsy Bogues teammates with Bull at one point? I know they took that picture. Were they teammates?
I'm not sure. It's like every time Jose Altuve is next to Aaron Judge on second base or something, there's a picture going around about him. So
yeah, they were teammates in Washington together. Not Bull, his dad, Manute Bull. Yeah, when Muggsy Bogues was a rookie, they were teammates.
There you go. So hopefully we do get that picture. But
yeah.
All right. I think that's a good place to call it. We're at the point where the chat is just debates and random conversations. So we will wrap it up there. Thanks everyone for submitting your questions in the chat. We will be back Thursday, mock draft 5.0, maybe an appearance from the wheel to help us out with that one. So that will be fun. Looking forward to that. We will let you know what time. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, like the channel as well, wherever else you get your podcasts. You can follow Barth on Twitter at RealAlexBarth. Head over to 985thesportshub.com for his Patriots coverage. You can follow me on Twitter at I am Brian Hines, and head over to patspulpit.com for our draft coverage there as well. So thanks again for the questions and for everyone tuning in tonight, and we will see you guys later this week.